Hello and welcome to AWS Made Easy. This has been a busy week this week. We've talked about AI, ML, databases, had the interview with Bowen Wang about FinOps. Now we're talking about business applications for reInvent. My name is Stephen Barr.
Hi everyone, I'm Rahul Subramaniam, and we are only about 10 days away from reInvent. I can't believe it's that close. So we're going to try and cover as many of the topics getting prepared for reInvent before we can actually get there. How have you been, Soon?
It's been really cold here. I thought today, as I was looking at thick woolen sweaters and things, I'm excited for a little bit of warmth in Vegas, even though it's all sterile air and sterile filtered hotel air. It's just okay when you get outside running between sessions. It can be a bit toasty.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so let's dive right in. What are we talking about today?
Okay, so today is business applications. Now, is this kind of a catch-all topic? I mean, you think in a sense, almost every application there is going to be a business application. So how do we differentiate that from all the other topics at reInvent?
Yeah, I think of business applications from AWS's standpoint as a higher order packaging of all of these different services into something that's cohesive. It has a meaning, it has a way of operating, and in some cases managed completely by AWS. So I think that's what I think of as business applications from their standpoint.
And I think a great example of that is Connect, right? Where it's not like SQS is a building block, but Connect is here's everything to run a call center, right? The phone trees, the translation, the capacity planning, schedule, all this stuff is all there. It is a big suite.
Correct. It's a fully managed packaged service that you can get started with almost immediately.
Well, I thought what we'd do for this session is have a look at some of the business application, what's new, and then get a feel for what is coming up at reInvent, kind of projecting outwards based on the what's new. I think we could know where this is going already. A little hint: generative AI is going to be mixed into everything. It is the new secret ingredient. Let's put this on the screen. I'll put this up now. Here we go. What's new at AWS? Let's adjust the size here. So looking at business applications, this one's
Yeah.
interesting. Repost Private, now integrated with Amazon Bedrock. I'll put this one on screen.
Yeah, I
So
think there's
Repost,
just a many to kind of combine AI, the generative AI, and all the knowledge bases that already exist or internal conversations that already exist.
if you were playing a drinking game on the phrase integrated with Amazon Bedrock, you'd probably have a rough time at Vegas, or maybe a great time depending on how you perceive that. But integrated with Amazon Bedrock is definitely you're going to see that phrase more than once,
Correct.
and repost private is one of those. So now integrated with Amazon Bedrock, contextual knowledge to organizations. Let's have a look at this one quickly. So this is this knowledge bases basically.
It's kind of knowledge bases, really. You take all the data, dump it into knowledge bases, and then that's integrated with Bedrock. So you get all the capabilities of, AI based collaboration, being able to search through stuff, being able to answer questions based on conversations and content that's already in there. So, yeah, I think it's a nice polish over basic knowledge bases.
So do you know many people who are using repost private? I mean, I guess this is the idea is that you have a permanent internal Q&A type of thing where there can be knowledge that accumulates over time rather than say searching a Slack channel. That can be a little bit harder because you have to unthread the conversations, whereas repost private, it's like a private Stack Overflow.
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't heard of anyone using Repost yet, but I assume that they have customers for it. I think that entire space is so fragmented at the moment with the likes of Slack, Microsoft Teams, and a bunch of other tools, like even Google's workspaces. Uh, it is a very crowded space. All of them at this point are very well integrated with AI of different kind to try to achieve the same thing. So I think it depends on what the objectives are. If you want it completely in-house, managed within your accounts with all of those, constraints that you want to put in, maybe Repost is a better solution than the other SaaS solutions that are out there. But honestly speaking, I haven't come across anyone who uses Repost yet.
Well, I think this will be useful for those who are using it. Like you said, anyone who is, if you were starting from scratch, we'd probably go with repost private.
Yeah,
But usually, this is a decision that happened a long time ago, and
agreed.
you probably don't want to switch. But that being said, the idea this is a representative of what is to come. This integrated with Amazon Bedrock. In this case, it's making up a knowledge base behind the scenes of all your repost posts, so that if you start asking a question, it can give you suggestions. Maybe this question has been asked before in a different way. And this
Correct.
combines customer specific private knowledge with AWS's vast public knowledge base. So if you have a big code base that you're maintaining and you say, where's the library to launch the missiles or whatever it is, someone else can reply here, and Bedrock, with its knowledge base, can say, oh, that was asked last week. It's over here.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. So, yeah, I think overall, just stepping back, AWS's business applications portfolio is relatively limited. I don't think they've had a lot of breadth. They've been so focused on building out all the foundational services that they've only very recently gotten into these higher order services. So I have a feeling that this time, number one, you're going to see a bunch more of these packaged versions of business services. And at the same time, you're also going to see a whole lot of integration with AI. Maybe a lot of these are going to just come baked in with AI right from the get go for the first time.
Yeah, I agree. Right, the time is now to get support for that feature if you're developing that. Well, should we rate this one? How do we rate the repost private? I mean, I guess it's hard if we're not
If you're not
users of
used
it.
to
How I guess let's.
yeah.
Why don't we leave this one as a what is it? A to be determined.
Yeah, I think this is to be determined. We'll see how it evolves. As we hear more stories about folks using repost. If you, by the way, are one of the customers using repost, the audience, please let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts about it, your experience with it, and yeah, how does it benefit you? We'd like to learn more.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know. That would be interesting for our own data.
Yeah.
All right. Here is the next one on the what's new. Amazon Connect offers new personalized and proactive engagement capabilities. So, Ro, you're very familiar with Connect. What do you think about
Yes.
this one in terms of new capabilities to help you proactively address customer needs before they become potential issues?
Yeah.
So, what is that? Is this a customer that's calling in maybe to a support line, and you're going to say, "Oh, I bet I know what it is." How are they proactively addressing?
Yeah. This is a little more of a nuanced version of churn prediction, where number one, when you start seeing a customer either post more tickets or call into the call center a lot more often, or you haven't heard from them for a while, it might be either end of the spectrum in terms of these situations where it's not the norm. Wherever it detects an anomaly in customer behavior or customer actions, it can prompt you to then reach out to the customer in different ways. Maybe offer them some tips and tricks about how to use the product a little more, in a little more involved manner. Maybe you incentivize them with some discounts on some new plugins or capabilities that are coming up. So it makes it really easy for you to, one, identify the outliers in terms of behaviors. Some behaviors changing, some behaviors, not showing up at all. You might want to take those and start acting on them so that you can retain those customers in the long run.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? So if you see people making more complaints and you think, okay, they're going to call up to cancel, you can have an offer to have 6 months at this 50% rate or whatever you've calculated that you think is their retention ability.
Exactly. And depending on their mode of interaction, for example, if they're calling the call center and right there, and you have the ability to engage with them right then and there, and Q will bring up all the relevant stuff for you to talk to them. If they've been calling, when you're doing a follow-up with them immediately, after that, maybe you can send them a bunch of other stuff that's going to be relevant to them that'll help them, be a retained customer. So that's a big deal. Maintaining your customers' interest in your product, protecting your ARRs. It is literally the central theme of any business. And so with all these predictions, I think they've packaged it up really well. which makes it really easy to start leveraging this tool to get back to your customers and give them what they really want.
Now, interestingly, it's not using the word AI anywhere in this announcement. I think this is much more targeted machine learning type of models, right? And clustering and much more statistician involvement than would be, just throwing it into an LLM and seeing what it says.
Yeah, I think it's a little more nuanced than that, but I still think it is ML and AI.
For example, it's definitely ML. I don't think they're using an LLM.
I do think that they're using LLM behind the scenes because, for example, if you have an angry customer, being able to identify the tone, being able to identify what might be relevant, there is a bunch of reasoning that I think is better done by the LLM at scale than them trying to, do a simple routing of here's what you need. I don't think it would end up being as personalized. That said, by the way, Connect is almost all AI beyond the basic CRUD operations of the data model that Connect has. Every service that they've built on top of that, literally the very first service that they came up with was the disambiguation or the fuzzy matching of a customer's profile across different systems, right? All of it is AI. Trying to figure out, about Rahul Subramanian being one person somewhere else, Rahul S being somewhere else, and me having two different phone numbers across different systems and bring it all together in one profile under Connect is one of the really hard problems that they were solving way ahead and, almost right when they started. And given that that's been the pedigree of Connect all the way through in terms of new feature announcements and so on, I think them not explicitly saying AI is forgiven because it is a very AI-centric application. It's been built on the AI model. That's literally its DNA.
Well, I guess as contrast, right? We had this one from last year where it was generative AI features in Connect, including Q. So you're right. They talked about this last year. I guess it's just a different way of branding it.
Yes.
So this was from last year, announcing AI features of Connect now have generative AI capabilities. They're powered by large language models available through Bedrock.
Yeah.
Okay. Neat. I like this. Q in Connect recommended responses and actions for faster customer support. That was last year. So this is the one we're talking about now. New personalized and proactive engagement capabilities.
Correct.
It's funny. I think initially people would view this with a little bit of skepticism of, I'm talking to a machine who's kind of, in a sense, quote, tricking me. But you can think of it another way. It's like, okay, I want the relevant information so I can make a decision, and it is being brought to me.
Exactly. No, this is just a fast fetch of that knowledge. I think as a customer, here are the two ends of the spectrum of your experience with, the OEM or whoever you're dealing with. When you call somebody and you say, here's my problem, fix it. Would you rather have someone say, oh, here are 3 options, let's try them right now, I can get to the solution in 5 minutes? Or would you rather like, great to know that you have a problem, let me come back to you within the next 24 to 48 hours with the right solution? Which one would you rather, go with?
I think you want the one that's right now, and you know exactly how to take care of this.
Exactly. And so if there is a system behind the scenes that literally bringing all of that stuff to you, letting you answer the question right then and there without wasting the customer's time and without these massive latencies, it just makes sense. Why would someone not want to do this?
Yep, I agree. Well, how do we rate this one then on our 1 to 5 cloud scale?
Yeah, I think this would be 4.5 and definitely simplifies.
Yeah, I agree. I wish they had a link of like, here's how we do it behind the scenes, like a blog post about what they're doing, but that's also...
But again, I don't think it would be relevant to an end customer who is a business user who's making the call of whether or not to use this. So I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's switch gears to, okay, those are our articles that are leading into reInvent. And I think just a taste of what's to come. Let's look at the reInvent session guide for business applications. I'll put this on screen. And this one's a bit shorter. Business applications. Do you see that? Did that come up? Yeah.
Yep, it did.
Okay.
Let's dive into the filter. So if you go down and This is
Okay, I'll go over
the
here.
Flickr.
The session catalog. Okay, so we're in the session catalog.
There
Click
are
on business applications
151
here.
sessions. Yeah.
And of those, we're guessing the amount of unique sessions is probably in the 70s or 80s. There's a few repeats, quite a few repeats, and simulcasts. Well, let's go through. Any particular ones that are standing out to you?
I think there are a couple of sessions. I think there's one by Victoria that talks about how to
It's
use Q
Dev
effectively.
201. There it is. I'll
Yeah,
zoom in on this one.
correct. Dev 201. You might want to take a look at that. I think you should see if there are any similarities between your industry and go and attend the shows that that you can learn from. In a lot of these scenarios, they are business applications, but a large part of the focus appears to be one of those lower order services. Like there's one on how to optimize a business application by optimizing S3, or there's one that's about how to leverage all the other services, slightly higher order services. I'm talking about SES and knowledge bases and so on, to accelerate how quickly your business applications can actually process data. But that said, at least from my standpoint, not the most impressive of lineups or exciting ones in the lineup. But to be very frank and honest, a lot of the business applications are not necessarily exciting from the craze or the wave that we have around generative AI, but they are no less important. Some of the stuff is just boring grunt work that you have to get out of the way. And if you have automations, if you have some basic intelligence that will get through that very, very quickly, I think it's incredibly valuable. It might be incredibly valuable to talk to all these folks who are in the trenches trying to solve these problems for their enterprises. Learn from them. Learn from what you can replicate at your end so that you can free up your bandwidth to work on now the bleeding edge of AI, and figure out how that can impact your organization in a much broader way.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. It seems actually making it work, right? These are people who have connected all the dots, dotted all the I's, crossed the T's. They've got something in production that works. And I think that, having done that is worth a lot. And where the trade-offs are. And I think that's a really useful learning, right? You can, well, I guess to go back to Don Knuth, you could prematurely optimize, say, a predictive piece, and it turns out that that particular part didn't matter. And what you really need to focus on is the retention part, and that matters more. Well, I guess similar to what we were talking about, here's one that I think goes along with the announcement we just looked at. This Biz 309, boost customer retention and loyalty with Amazon Connect. That seems very much in line with the announcement we just read. Capture feedback, sentiment, AI-driven insights to continuously improve experiences, omni-channel engagements. And there we go. Actionable techniques to measure and optimize customer effort. Yeah, that would be, like you said, that's what you really need at the end of the day, because they're the ones paying the bills.
These are important business goals. Like, it may sound boring, it may sound non-exciting. It's not the bleeding edge like everything else generative AI right now. But at the end of the day, it is a core pillar of your business. This is what is the driver of what makes everything else happen. So paying attention to this is incredibly important.
Yeah, definitely. This is good. Well, this is going to be a shorter episode. We see the different ones that are out there. Have a look through these. These are all going to be online. This is interesting. Oh, here's an interesting one. Create content fast with generative AI models for AI Marketplace. So this is a builder's session using generative AI models from the AWS Marketplace to create content for practical business use cases. So that will be, again, it seems very generically worded, but this is it. This is important for business use cases where competitive or confidential information may be used with models. So when I was in healthcare, we had simulated patients, and that's actually kind of tricky because they have a lot of different dimensions to them. It's not just figuring out a random number. There's a lot of different dimensions to a simulated patient.
I couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, anything else we want to mention on the business applications side of things?
No, just that I'm just going to reiterate the tip that I shared earlier. Try and figure out which one of these users operates in a domain and a space that your business is in so that you can actually pick their brain, learn from them, learn from their mistakes, learn from what it took to get all this grunt work done and out of the way, how they were leveraging the AWS services to accomplish the outcomes that might be similar to yours. And learn from that, and that'll allow you to implement it in your own workplace. So the learning opportunities and the people, again, I repeat this in every single episode, that is literally the most important thing that you could focus on at reInvent.
Definitely. Well, I think we're going to wrap up this episode. Focus on the learning, focus on the people. We are going to see you next week. I think we're going to do some pre-invent coverage and one that I just saw, scale to zero with Aurora Serverless V2.
Yeah,
Very long-awaited announcement.
correct.
I think they've got. When you hear serverless, you think, okay, well, I should have the option to have 0 servers, and that was
Right.
a bit of a frustration with maybe an overusage of the word serverless. But now with Aurora Serverless V2, we've got actual scale to 0 serverless. We'll be talking about that and other what they call